There are still a large number of people who do not want to get vaccinated nationwide and here in Minnesota, which is behind a lot of incentives being given to people nowadays, especially companies to get their workers to choose to become vaccinated against COVID-19. Those, though, who are still hesitant about it say there just isn't enough substantial data for long-term effects of a vaccine, and so plenty would rather quit their job than be made to do something they're not comfortable with. And with national and local employment issues surrounding the worker shortages that we are seeing in communities across the country, that's making a tough situation even harder for people to fill positions. Dr. Shirley Davis is the president and CEO of a firm that specializes in HR strategy, culture transformation, and a lot more. Dr. Davis, this pandemic has certainly caused a lot of culture transformation over the last year and a half. Let's start there. What are those changes?
It sure has. Obviously, people are working now very differently. They're working remote, they're working in hybrid environments, and they're using a lot of technology. And so a lot of the changes have been is how do we keep workers engaged? How do we retain great workers? And then certainly we've been talking about how do we ensure that we're keeping great talent with the resources that they need to do the work both from home as well as in the office. Those are changes, but leaders are having to really kind of step up and ensure that people are still feeling safe, that people feel cared for, that they feel valued and respected. And look, we're also in an age of where diversity, equity, and inclusion is a whole part of the equation and the conversation, and ensuring that we are letting every worker feel valued and respected and feel like they can have the opportunity to succeed.
Let's touch on the one point you said, that workers want to feel safe, especially when they go to work. The vaccine is still highly controversial. Those who have gotten the vaccine don't want to be sitting around coworkers who aren't vaccinated, and those who are being mandated to get a vaccine in order to keep their job would rather quit. So how do you navigate something as touchy as this?
Yeah, you have to navigate it very carefully, right? I think education is the key to all of this, education and communication. I know a lot of people say that they don't want to take it because it's still a lot of unknown information about the vaccine and its long-term effects. But I'd say also, let's look at the reality right now of what we've been seeing over the last 18 months of this pandemic hitting, and 600 plus thousands of people have died who wish they had taken the vaccination, right? And so I think on both sides, you have to be educated and look at what are some of the consequences of not taking it. Consequences is I can get a hospital stay, or I could get tubulation, or I ultimately could die. So I think that we as companies and leaders, we have to treat this as a health and safety issue and not a political issue, and it's not personal.
Honey, I wish we could do that, but this has become so political because those who are hesitant are saying it is not about the science behind it. It is about the politics of my boss, and now they're making me do something I don't want to do. Now, for those who want to stay in that job, yet they fight with this internally, what do you tell them?
Yeah, I do think that there's a couple of options. For one thing, I tell leaders and executives of organizations who are making these policies let's give it a couple of options, right? It doesn't have to be mandatory as a first line of defense. How about we look at various options? One is that we can certainly ensure that vaccinations are open to everyone, and we give people the time that they need off work to go and get that done. The second thing is, yes, mask requirements could be another option. Or another option is that we continue to allow people to work remotely where they are guaranteed to be safe and away from people, but also regular testing could be another one. And then we see what not only companies are doing, but states are doing this, incentives. So there are multiple ways to try to get people vaccinated, or to at least keep people safe in the workplace.
And I think incentives, I'm a mom. I use incentives rather than necessarily discipline and coming down on my kids. Now, I'm not saying that bosses treat their employees like children, but incentives work better.
They do. They do. People would prefer that you give them information and knowledge and options versus giving them mandates and being very prescriptive. Hey, we don't even like managers that micromanage, right?
Amen.
So people just don't like to feel pushed into doing something. So I think what we can do is provide greater education, provide greater communication and understanding, but certainly we have to give them other options as well. And when all those options have been exhausted, and look what's happening now, Betsy, is that clearly this pandemic has taken a whole nother turn for the worse, and that this thing is more deadly, as I hear, than chickenpox, than Ebola. And so if it is that deadly, we talk about providing safe and healthy workplaces, this is a matter of safe and safe, healthy workplaces as well, too. Let's not put this off limits.
All right, Dr. Davis, give me 2 minutes if you can. I need to take a quick break. For people who are going to leave their job and start out on a new venture, whether it's COVID related or not, they're looking for something new. You're an expert on that, and that's what I want to touch on next, okay?
That was great. Okay.
We'll be right back. Continuing my conversation with Dr. Shirley Davis, who's the president and CEO of a firm that specializes in a lot of various aspects with employment, helping employees to be more engaged, HR strategy, culture transformation, leadership, so many things that are so important to a good working environment, Dr. Davis. We'll set the pandemic aside, vaccinations, mandates, and all of that. If there are people, and I know there are many, who are ready to leave their job, but they're afraid, there's a lot of what ifs, a lot of uncertainties, you're an expert on this.
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
So you're right. Look, Monster.com put it out just recently that 95% of workers are actually considering leaving their jobs. I wrote about this. I've considered leaving many jobs, and I have done that. I encourage people to make sure that you're working at an organization where it's aligned with your values, where it's providing you the opportunities to grow new skills, new competencies. It's allowing you to stretch and build your resume. That's important, but it's allowing you to contribute who you are, your gifts and your talents and your strengths that you can bring to the organization. And when those things are missing, and when you have, you work in a toxic culture, or you work for a bad boss, you have to reconsider whether or not this is the right place for you. And I think a lot of people are doing that now. About 700,000 workers just in retail and hospitality alone are saying, enough of this. I'm going to go and get another job that pays better, that treats me better, and allows me to have a better work-life quality.
Yeah, there's a high percentage of people who admit that they're not getting beyond that what-if stage. The what-ifs scare them. They stay in something that they hate because at least they know it.
They know it. That's right. I'm so thrilled. I lived in my what ifs for a long time, and it kept me stuck. It kept me in that same position of not fulfilling my dreams, and yet I wasn't living a life of significance. And it was the what if I fail? What if they don't accept me? What if I don't get the job? What if it doesn't pay enough? And I left this job and I go over to the other job, and the grass is artificial turf. It's not even greener on the other side. So it is a lot of those what ifs that keep us stuck. And I encourage you to really think about, what if you don't do these things? What if you do take the risk and it's successful? What if it does bring you greater fulfillment? So instead of looking at it in a negative light, look at it in a positive light of, I'm going to take this risk and I'm going to step out and do it because it has to be better than what this is.
Hey, I'm going to play devil's advocate to one point that I know that you can really talk about. That's the relationship being the new currency. It's not what you know, it's who you know when you're venturing out on something new, right? So I thought that was super important, and I've got some great relationships in the community that I live in. I had switched careers about 10, 12 years ago. But the people who I thought were friends in the business world, who I thought were going to help me, all of a sudden then became like, oh, sorry you're going through that, but yeah. They don't necessarily help you.
Betsy, I'm a big believer too. Yes, relationships are the new currency. I've managed and led recruiting for 10 years. So I know that we hired people, we paid people, we promoted people that we liked, that we trusted, and that were referred to us, right? I'm in a business now where I'm a consultant. I'm running a global firm and helping organizations to do this. And they hire me for the same reasons. 95% of my business comes through relationships. But there comes a time where you have to expand expand your relationship, your network. And you can't have a small network of people who are for one season in your life. Expand your network so that you have people that can go into your next chapter, your new season, and your next level.
Well, I have a feeling that your success is based a lot on your personality, because
Absolutely.
you have a
Yes,
big
it is.
one.
It is.
I love it. I really appreciate this. And the worker shortage, employment issues not going away. So I will need to talk with you again.
That sounds great. Thank you so much.
Dr. Shirley, thank you. We'll be right back.